Everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from Breitbart dated June 8th. And this will be something a little different from the norm because usually it's all political stuff, so we'll go into some pop culture territory. Article by John Nolte, who I always make a point to read at Breitbart because it's got the right amount of snark that I'm looking for. He talks about movies, which are one of the things that up until about 5 years ago I was super duper into. So you've probably seen a lot of instances the last few years of movies being censored, from Gone with the Wind, which, has like a warning in front of it, like, this basically shows slavery. And it's like, yes, it shows a historical thing that happened. We know this. And there's even an instance of the movie Splash, the Daryl Hannah mermaid one with Tom Hanks and John Candy from, 1984. How ironic, it's from 1984, that I guess when there's a point where Daryl Hannah, and I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but there's a point where Daryl Hannah, I guess, is running to the ocean, and you see her butt. It's a PG movie, and I think Disney owns the rights because of course they would, and they decided to CGI a bathing suit on her butt so that you didn't see her butt crack, essentially. So this kind of stuff is happening here. A lot of people say buy physical media. I have a rather extensive Blu-ray and regular DVD collection, and that's why I buy physical media. It's because they can't go in there and slyly change something on a physical disc, but if you have a digital version of it, they can do that. So let's see what this says. So I did hear about this. So it says from John Nolte, it says if they'll censor The French Connection, they'll censor anything. And I don't know if anybody's seen this. It's been a while for me. I do in fact own this movie on Blu-ray, but I haven't watched it in a while. But one of the great car chases in movie history. But again, anybody should watch this. So the article says, they, in italics, censored The French Connection, which is from 1971, and everyone went along with it. Apple sold the censored version on iTunes. Furthermore, I hear Bugs Bunny's voice, furthermore, according to some reports, those who purchased the uncensored version on iTunes now own the censored version, which means Apple allowed them to go in and censor the uncensored versions people had already purchased. Yeah, that's not shady. So you basically bought a product, and then the company decided on the sly, without you knowing, that they were going to go ahead behind your back and change said product that you paid for. That's shitty behavior. So it says, the American Cinematheque's Aero Theater, an outlet dedicated to preserving classic movies, went along with it. Oh, wonderful. This Turner Classic Movies, an outlet dedicated to preserving classic movies, went along with it. I guess I never need to watch anything on TCM ever again. The reason I've seen as many movies as I have pre-1985, which I still have massive gaps in my movie knowledge, is because of Turner Classic Movies. I remember on my DVR at one point I had 30 to 40 movies from there because I was just like, oh wait, that's on, I should watch that. But I guess I don't need to ever watch anything on their channel anymore. So it says, worst of all, Criterion, an outlet branded on preserving classics, went along with it. Yeah, that's kind of shady for you guys, Criterion. I mean, I have a lot of Criterion Blu-rays, and that may start to change if you're going to start censoring things. It says, over the past week, starting out with Hollywood Elsewhere, people have begun to complain. Still, none of the above outlets have apologized or said it was a mistake, or that they will stop screening, renting, selling, the vandalized version of a Best Picture winner. So Apple, the American Cinematheque, Turner Classic Movies, and Criterion not only went along with them, censoring one of the greatest movies ever made, they are still going along with them, censoring one of the greatest movies ever made. So who are they? It says Disney has owned The French Connection for more than 4 years. Disney's artistic fascism is well established. That's true. As we're talking about an anti-art company that disappears art entirely, including Song of the South and Path to 9/11. Says Disney is perfectly comfortable grooming kids and capable of consent with adult sexuality, homosexuality, drag queens, transvestite, and transsexuals, but the kindly Uncle Remus, the truth about Bill Clinton's errors that led to 9/11, and the use of the N-word in a 50-year-old R-rated movie, which is The French Connection, which is kind of the point of the article, says, well, that's a bridge too far for Disney. Says the woke Nazis are already censoring Ian Fleming, Dr. Seuss, Roald Dahl, and Agatha Christie, so why not what is widely considered one of the greatest movies ever made? The thing is this, says, look at how we had to find out about the vandalizing of The French Connection. Someone commented on a Hollywood Elsewhere blog post. That's how it started. No one who should have told us. Turner Classic Movies, American Cinematheque, Apple, and Criterion have an obligation to inform customers that the version of the movie they are about to see or purchase has been modified. They didn't. Maybe they didn't know. Okay, but will they warn the customers now? It says, do you see what they're doing here? They're trying to slip one past us. They're vandalizing a classic movie and hoping we don't notice, and now they will probably try to wait us out, wait for us to die out, and hope America's collective memory forgets so they can dumb down Casablanca, Gone with the Wind, and the rest. Ask yourself, what else have they tried to sneak past us? What other movies and TV shows are being quietly vandalized, censored, and infantilized that we don't know about? Buy hard copies. Buy them now, just because that's the goal, you know. These acts of vandalism have nothing to do with sensitivity. Nope, these acts of vandalism are all about keeping us simple-minded. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, he echoes my buy hard copies and buy them now. Yeah, don't buy digital stuff, just don't. And I mean, keep in mind too that if you're buying digital and like, what if like you don't have a backup or your computer just dies or something like that, you lose it forever, sort of thing. You have to go and like rebuy everything, right? I mean, I'm showing probably my ignorance at buying digital stuff because I basically don't for anything, like, you know. So let's keep going. It says, you see, great art, truly great art, forces us to deal with complicated emotions. I know I've said this before, but it's an important point. Great art confronts us with the complications, contradictions, and gray areas we find in real life. Great art forces us to work through these complications, to ruminate, confront, consider, and face up to them. This is a wonderful exercise for the human spirit because, in the end, we come out a little wiser and with a thicker skin. And that's why Gene Hackman's Popeye Doyle, who's this guy right here, is one of the movie's greatest characters. Like so many of us, he's a walking contradiction, an immoral man doing a righteous, selfless, and brave thing. After being confronted with this, we walk out of the theater carrying this confusion. We ask ourselves why, even with his glaring flaws, we still admire him. Working through that is a healthy exercise. Disney and his fellow woke Nazis want to stop Americans from conducting that exercise, so they dumb down the French Connection. Why do you think movies are so shallow and simple-minded today, so full of virtue signaling, Mary Sues, and so eager to do our thinking for us? Answer: emotionally immature people are easier to control politically and easier to turn into mindless and shallow consumers whose only fulfillment comes from being a mindless and shallow part of the next big thing. Fauci, Ukraine, Black Lives Matter, Vindman, Khashoggi, hashtag believe all women, drag queens. If I sound paranoid, remember, Disney hired a male transvestite to greet your children at Disneyland. Yes, that's great. And if you haven't looked into that story, go do it. You probably will cringe a bit. It says, remember, Target teamed up with a Satanist to target your children. And here's an example of that. And, oh yeah, that's the end of the article. So what do you guys, we're not talking about like any of the Disney stuff because this article I want to focus on the editing or the stealth editing of digital media, regardless if it's a movie or even like an album, a music album, which that's probably going to come next too. I mean, think about like an early NWA album or, you know, I'm talking about like gangster rap stuff. Like when is that stuff going to get censored? Because you know it's coming, you know. So what do you think about this? You for or against this? I'm wholeheartedly like anti-censorship, as I have always been for my entire life. It pisses me off seeing stuff like this, especially to classic things, but still it's pisses me off one way or the other, even if the thing being censored was not a classic thing. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.